So, you want to do a little bit of research during residency. Maybe this is to fill the mandate that every resident must complete a project, or maybe it's simply because you have some enthusiasm and a great idea for a project. But how do you get started? If you've already done some research, then you kind of know the ropes already. But if you haven't, it can seem like a really daunting task. If you've ever watched a research project go to completion, you'll notice that it kind of follows a curve somewhat like this. Initially, when you start out, there's a lot of enthusiasm and the project takes off. Somewhere in the middle, though, that enthusiasm wanes and things seem to slow down or even stop on the project. At that point, one of two things happens. The researcher loses all enthusiasm and things end in a disaster, or something rekindles the enthusiasm and the project soars to completion. So how can you maximize your chances of this being you instead of this? I'd like to offer a couple of simple steps that you should follow in order to see research success. First, you need to meet with the experts in your department. This may be your research director, your program director, but whoever it is, make some time and talk to them. They usually know what's going on in terms of other projects that you could simply join in if they fit your interest, or what funding might be available, and they definitely know what kind of support is out there to help you get your research complete. Then it's time to go back to school. You'll want to learn as much as you can about completing research. There are a couple of great courses out there. ASAP offers the Emergency Medicine Basic Research course, also known as EMBERS. SAEM offers a lot of research-oriented courses during their annual meeting, and there's a lot of great books out there as well that can get you started. Once you think you're up to pace and ready to get started, then you need to find your research mentor or supervisor. Now, a couple of things that you want to know about the potential mentor. Are they available? Are they funded? Have they published before? And finally, it's probably worthwhile talking to other mentees because they'll give you the inside scoop about how this mentor is to work with, whether they're truly as available as they say, whether they're really out there to help the mentee get their research published, or whether the mentee is simply a tool in the mentor's team to get his work accomplished. Once you find a mentor that you really enjoy, then it's time to sit down and set some expectations about how things are going to go. At this point, it's probably helpful to kind of yield to them a little bit, as they have the expertise here, and they'll be able to help you a lot more than you realize. After that, you need to ask a good question. And I'm going to do a separate whole screencast about this, so I'm not going to elaborate too much. Once you've asked your question, then kind of put together an outline. Your outline will help you to do your literature search, set the objectives that you want to study, and really kind of guide your research throughout the whole process. From here, make some time and meet with some methodology experts. Every place that does research should have a couple of these people around. They may be biostatisticians, research professionals, etc. When you sit down with them, they'll go through your project, offer you some simple solutions and changes that you may want to implement, and set you on the right course for success in the long run. Also, they'll help you with all those silly little calculations that are kind of tough to do on your own. Things like sample size that become very important when you're actually trying to find an effect. From here, you want to take what you've done above and put it into a protocol. Again, it simplifies how you're going to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Once your protocol is done, then you need to talk to your institutional review board and make sure that if it's a randomized sample that you get the appropriate approvals, or if it's a retrospective study that you get your exemptions and things like that. Kind of an optional step is getting some funding, but worth it if it's available, because it can make the research much easier to accomplish by buying you some time, buying you some additional resources, etc. From here, it's time to actually get down and do the work. What I mean by this is your data collection and analysis. This part sometimes can seem the most tedious, but obviously is the basis of everything that you're doing. Once all of that's collected and analyzed, then the fun part begins. You get to present your data. Now, initially, this may just be an abstract at a conference, but most programs that I know of will pay for their residents to go to these conferences to present all of that data. It's not enough to stop here, though. Any good research really should go on to publication. So, at the same time you're writing up your abstract to send to the conferences, you should be working on your manuscript at the same time. Once you have it in a polished form, reviewed by your mentor, maybe even some other people, then you want to submit it. And this process can take some time, because there'll be revisions, refusals, but it's worth it in the long run, because all good research will find a home for publication. Once it's finally submitted, though, and in print, then it's time to celebrate with everybody that helped get you to this point. So pop open the bubbly, have a good time with your team, and savor the sweet success of a completed research project.